Today, I'm going to be condensing 500 days of memecoin investing experience and knowledge into this video, all so that you can become better as a memecoin investor and start making money as soon as possible. Now, these exact lessons that I'm going to be going over are what have enabled me to make over $500,000 on base memes and also over $300,000 in the past 2 months alone on abstract memes. And I'm not going to be holding anything back. All the lessons I'm going to be teaching in this video are real pieces of advice that I had to learn the hard way through tons of trial and error and mistakes. So if you watch to the end of this video, you are going to be getting access to insights into the meme coin space that you probably have not seen anywhere else, and you're going to be learning a lot. So let's get started. I've been investing into meme coins for over 500 days now, and my returns since then have been definitely in the top 1% of all people who've been investing in meme coins, but maybe even the top 0.1% in terms of the total returns, the profit that I've kept. And because of the returns that I've made, I've got a lot of unique insights you probably haven't heard anywhere else online. Most videos you see online about meme coins are going to tell you about what is actually called trading, all the different things related to being a fast action trader. Now, what I do is not this. I am the complete opposite when it comes to meme coins. My approach is very unique. What I like to do is called meme coin investing, and that's what this video is going to be about. So we're not talking today about tracking whale wallets. We're not talking about aping into sub 100K market cap shitters. We're not spending 10 hours a day looking at charts and telling you how to do that. That is not what I do at all. I've never tracked a whale wallet in my life. Don't give a fuck about it. It's not what makes me money. What I'm going to teach you in this video is about multi-month holds of meme coins that have staying power for 10 to 100x gains. That's my edge. That's how I've made my money, and that's what you're going to learn about. It requires way less skill, it requires way less time, and it is way less stressful than spending 10 hours a day fucking in the trenches. One of the first lessons I want to go over in this video that I've learned is the key to making money as a meme coin investor, to making the big returns consistently, is to climb the insider hierarchy. Every meme coin's growth, if you look at the day it launched at the bottom of its valuation and then the top of its valuation, whatever the highest price that meme coin went to was, if you look at the hierarchy of who bought here at the bottom, who sold here at the top, or who bought here at the top, you will see there's a consistent hierarchy of people who get in really early and those who get in really late. And I want to tell you about this hierarchy and give you a real example with Newt. I knew about Newt the day it came out. I watched the team CTO it live in the group chat that they CTO'd it in. I'm a big holder of this coin. I've watched it go from basically nothing to now 19 million market cap. I saw every step of that process. I saw who were the people buying early, who were the people buying a little later, and I'm going to be seeing who are the people who buy way too late at a 200, 300 million market cap in a few months, 6 months, whatever it is from now. And I want to go over that with you guys to sort of give you an idea of the hierarchy that plays out, because the key here to make money as a meme coin investor is not necessarily to be the first to enter, but you have to enter where you're actually pretty high on the hierarchy, to the point where there's people who are going to buy after you so that you can make profits selling to them. So what we have was the day that it launched, it was a random anonymous guy. He launches Newt. He didn't have a long-term vision, so he actually abandoned Newt and he rugged it here somewhere, and the price fell 70-80% from its peak. And what actually happened was, when most coins rug, they go to zero. Some coins, when they rug, they get taken over by another team. And so what ended up happening was a group of 10 to 20 people, they did a CTO, a community takeover of Newt, where they basically accumulated a very large portion of the Newt supply. And then they basically the owners of Newt now, because they have most of it. And then obviously when a CTO happens, the price pumps. And so the next hierarchy of buyer is the friends of the CTO. So there's this core team of 10, 20 people, they get the lowest entry. And then after them, their friends buy. And then the price pumps more because of the friends buying, and then you can see what the price was doing here. Now it was clear to the market that a CTO had happened. Smart whales actually began accumulating in this 500K to million range. This was actually my first ever buy of Newt. It was at the bottom here at a 500K market cap, and this is when other smart whales began to accumulate. Now Newt starts to gain traction, more smart people start to buy in. This is into the 1 to 1.5/2 million market cap range. Fast forward a few days and you can see the price went up to about a 3 million market cap up here. Now we've had a pretty big pullback down to the 1 million market cap range. Smart whales are continuing to come into the market. Now at this point, the team has begun OTCing some supply out to early KOLs. So what that means is that when you're running a meme coin, right, you need people with influence to be holding it, because if they hold the coin and they have influence, they are going to be shilling the coin and bringing new people to buy the coin in. So they began contacting KOLs, and they would say to the KOL, hey, you have influence, we will sell you a discount on the token price and we'll sell it to you OTC. And obviously now you're a holder, you're going to want to shill the coin, you just have to shill it. And that's what they began to do. So early KOLs who were early on the abstract chain were contacted. I actually was able to buy my full position of Newt in this range here. And then my group got notified to buy Newt. And then the sort of Newt parabolic run began at this point. So you can see here, what are the type of people who are buying sub 2 mil? What are the people buying below in this region here? Well, it's early whales who are really smart, so smart people, early KOLs who are backing the coin, and then friends of the people who took over the coin. So you either had to be smart, connected, or have influence. Those are the 3 types of people who bought early. Which one of the 3 was I? Well, I had influence, I'm also smart, and I'm also connected, so I was sort of all 3. But I would say in this instance, mostly it was the influence side of things, okay? And so now we have the pump. And so obviously my group was the one, their definition was connected, right? They knew me. And now the price is pumping, and the higher the price goes, the more interest the coin has, and the more comfortable the team is to sell OTC because they're selling it at a higher price. So then they start OTCing more supply to early KOLs. So you start having a new group of influencers holding the coin, or whales holding the coin, at this 7 million range. And then later on, we're now at a 13 million market cap region. We have less smart retail begins to catch on as the KOLs shill. These guys are still early, but they're not as smart and as early as, you know, the earlier people. Abstract is still a very overlooked chain. These people are not wrong. It's not a bad entry, but you can see there's a hierarchy here. And then I did a public video shilling Newt here, and there's people buying off of that video. And then there's discussions begin with big KOLs. So in terms of like where the coin is going to go from here, we've had the early abstract KOLs who got in, who shilled it, and the next group of KOLs are going to be the bigger ones. So I don't want to name names, but there's some big guys who are currently being spoken to who may be coming on to sort of get OTC supply and support the project. And so these are the guys that take it to 30, 50, 80, 100 million and beyond. And then you've obviously got some other markers that support price beyond this. So the big KOLs shill, that sends Newt to the moon. And then you have the exchange listings. Exchange listings bring a new group of people, the late buyers. Think about Toshi, right? Toshi got to a 900 million market cap because it had a massive influx of buyers from Coinbase. So you can see the hierarchy of buyers, right? All these idiots who only buy things on centralized exchanges are buying here, and then they wonder why the price is going down. They were the exit liquidity. And you think about who are the people buying it at 2.5 million back when I was buying it? Well, those are obviously a different group of people, completely different on the hierarchy. And so that's the journey that's going to play out with Newt as well, once we get exchange listings and things like that. And I can also show you the last point I wanted to make. The airdrop is the next part. So an airdrop happens, right? That floods people to the abstract chain because they're going to want to go where the money is, right? I think the airdrop's probably going to be a multi-phase airdrop. So imagine $100 million gets given away, and this is like the only chain in crypto that's sort of making people money. There's going to be an influx of capital, an influx of attention, an influx of users. They're going to end up chasing the memes even higher. And ignore this market cap stuff on the side. I'm not saying the airdrop happens at end of May or 40 million market cap. I just wanted to show you guys the hierarchy that plays out with these meme coins. Who's buying early? Who's buying late? Your job is to climb the insider hierarchy. How can you become friends with the people who CTO meme coins at tiny valuations so that you can be up massive multiples and making millions of dollars? How can you be the one that gets told to buy something before a massive KOL shills it? The earlier you get into a meme, the more people there are ahead of you to provide exit liquidity, but also the lower the probability of that meme surviving. So there is a risk. If you look at how many coins at 100k market cap go to zero, how many memes at a 50 mil market cap go to zero, there's way more memes that got to 100k market cap that go to zero, simply because the smaller it is, the less chance it has of surviving. And this is why knowing the intentions of the team and understanding what a good narrative is so important. Because if the narrative's good and the team is good and it's at 100k market cap, like when Newt was, then that's a pretty obvious buy, and it's also a low chance of failing, even though it's a small market cap, because of what the team is and what the narrative is. And just as a side note, the climbing of the hierarchy, people always hate on paid groups. Well, if the hierarchy concept is real, paid groups allow you to climb the hierarchy to get earlier access to information and signals that can make you money. So that's one of the value props of these paid groups, paid communities that you can join. It's a simple, payable method to climb the hierarchy without any time investment. And now I want to visualize for you just in text what I just showed you. You can see who's buying at this level, who's buying at this level, who's buying at this level. Maybe screenshot this. Obviously, every coin is different, but this is the general rough idea of what happens. The second lesson that I learned from 500 days of meme coin investing is that every coin has a cabal. Every meme coin always has a few top holders who have a lot of the supply. That's natural. That's normal. It can't be avoided. There's no meme coin that has 1% in all holders' hands, or where there's 100,000 holders with shekels and no one with a larger amount. There's always a few dudes who have most of it. And these people, due to human nature, naturally want to band together. If you hold 10% of a meme coin and you want it to succeed, you probably also want to be talking to the other dudes who have 5%, 10%, 2% of the meme coin. And that's what these whale chats are for. Every meme coin has a whale chat. If it doesn't have a whale chat, it's very rare. And these whale chats are essentially a cabal. It's an anonymous group of people who've come together for a shared mission of pumping a coin. And the whale chats are restricted to only people with a whale-like supply. And so it's basically a secret group, because others aren't allowed to join it, that don't have enough supply. And that's what it says here, a secret political clique or faction. So to hate on cabal coins is to hate on the end state of every meme coin, where the top holders band together in secret groups that no one else can join. In all of fucking human civilization, it is a constant battle of centralizing power and getting more and more in the hands of a small few people. So the centralization of power is not a bad thing. That's not the issue. It's just a thing. What they do with the power is what matters. And so the issue people have is not with cabals. The issue people have is with bad cabals. It's with cabals with short-term mindsets. It's to cabals that are too focused on making money and not enough on building a project. And so it's your job not to spot a coin that isn't a cabal. They're all fucking cabals. Your goal is to spot a coin that is a good cabal with long-term intentions. And that leads into the next lesson. Supply centralization amongst a core team is a good thing, assuming the team is good. Because meme coins, they don't have any inflation. How are you going to fund the development of a meme coin if you don't have inflation, which is your source of revenue, and there's no source of revenue outside of that for a meme coin? The only way is you own half of it, or 30% of the supply, and you use the supply as your marketing budget. Because think about the expenses that your meme coin that you hold will have. Well, you want a Binance listing? Bro, that's going to cost you 5-10% of the supply. You want a decent amount of KOLs to hold supply? Well, you might have to sell it to them OTC. That's 5 to 10% sold there. If you have a full-time job, how are you going to get time to focus on the coin? Well, you might have to sell your own supply just to pay for your living expenses. How are you going to pay for partnerships and collaborations? How are you going to pay for dev tasks? Like, how are you going to get a buy bot made? How are you going to pay for artwork? All of this gets paid out of the supply that the team has accumulated. So supply centralization is absolutely a good thing. You should be aiming as a meme coin project, if you have a team behind it, to have a large percent of the supply. Otherwise, how the fuck are you going to pay for anything? Nothing's going to get done. Money is the currency that work gets done by, okay? And if you don't have money, you're not going to get work done. No one's fucking charity working on a meme coin. Oh, I'm the guy behind the coin. I own none of it, and I just work for charity. No, that's not how it works. So if the people running the coin don't have supply, none of these important things get paid for, and thus the coin won't run. And having a community of 30 non-whales come together to raise money for listing is also just not going to work. Oh, bro, none of us have a lot of the supply, but we'll just all 30 of us work together and fund the listing. Not going to happen. So this is just the reality of meme coins. And if you talk to any of the top guys in the space, you talk to people like Luca Nets, they all tell you the same thing. Yep, a meme coin, yep, the supply needs to be centralized. And if you want to have a cry about how this sounds, too bad. This is the true nature of this game. I've been spending over 500 days on this shit. This is how it works. If you don't like it, don't play it. Good KOLs are sold, not bought. We talk a lot about KOLs here because I am obviously a fucking guru, and this is where a lot of my knowledge is coming from. And most of you guys don't know this because you're not KOLs, so that's totally fair. But that's also why it's good for you to know, because this is knowledge that you're not going to find anywhere else. So if you look at the people backing a coin, you want them to back the coin because they're sold on the idea, not because they were a bought individual by the project. Most KOLs are just bought actors, and that is not someone you want behind your coin, because someone who is a bought and paid for actor does not have a long-term perspective, does not have a belief in your coin. They're not just going to get given some supply and hold it for 100x if they don't care about the project. So the most important part of the KOLs, the people supporting the coin, is that they are sold on the vision. They're sold on the narrative. They're sold on the potential. And so it's a game of selling, not buying. And now, obviously, you guys don't talk to the KOLs. It's how do you know what the KOLs are thinking when they shill a coin? It's very hard just looking at a Twitter account or a YouTube video. How do you know? The key that we're going to get into later on with meme coins is you have to get really close to the team and you have to be deep into a coin's ecosystem. And when you get deep, you're able to ask questions like this and get answers to it. So the question you can ask, number one, is what is the approach the core team takes to bringing on KOLs? So with Newt, for example, I asked the guy, who are you OTCing supply to? What is your criteria? Are you being really careful with who you're giving supply to, KOLs, or are you being very like, oh, I'll just give it away? Do you have an abundance mindset where you only want to work with the best, or are you just like giving it away just for a quick pump and dump? How careful of a core team with OTCing out supply? We just covered that. Is the meme coin team good enough to truly be sold to a KOL with influence? So imagine you're a 300,000 follower YouTube dude who barely ever shills coins, but the ones you shill go crazy, and you know what a good team looks like, and you only want to work with the best because you're the best. Do you think you're going to be sold on a meme coin that's being ran by a team of amateur 17-year-olds? Probably not. Do you think you're going to be sold by a meme coin team that's run by some fucking high-level guys that you speak to and you're like, holy shit, these guys are really good. They have a good pitch. The coin has a good narrative. They've launched other meme coins that have done really well. They have a long-term perspective. They're really cool guys to work with. Which one are you going to pick? Last but not least, what KOLs have already been brought on? And do they have a history of holding for the long term or simply dumping quickly? So there's this one guy on Twitter called Siphius. Any allocation that he can get to basically any coin using his influence, he will take. He's in every fucking pre-sale and he dumps them all immediately as quick as he can. He doesn't believe in any coins. He doesn't hold for the long term. He just gets in, uses his influence to get early access and dumps it. So if you see a coin that sold allocation to him, you know that coin has a short-term perspective because he has a terrible reputation. No meme coin would sell to a guy like that because they know he's not good. If you see a coin that is backed by a guy that barely ever talks about coins and he's very careful with what he talks about, that's when you know he has a long-term perspective. So when I think about all the best meme coin plays that I've made over the past 500 days, they all have the same formula. Keep in mind, I've bought maybe 20 to 30 meme coins. The best of those 20 to 30 all followed this criteria. So number one, I found it sub 3 million market cap and I bought it sub 3 million market cap. I bought 1% of the total supply or more, so I had a very solid stake. I am in regular contact with the core team. I was super deep into that coin specific ecosystem, and I was betting on a new chain's growth. The meme coin is the vehicle for profit. So these are the 5 things that happened every time. Anytime that I didn't do the following, I was unknowingly placing myself in a less advantageous position as I was joining the coin later in the hierarchy or with a less informational edge. So whenever I bought a meme coin where I wasn't contacting the team, I had way less informational edge because when I speak to the team on a daily basis, they tell me everything that's going on with the coin, and it either gives me conviction or it tells me that I should sell. If I'm joining at a 10 mil market cap, I'm joining later in the hierarchy. So there's less sort of edge, if that makes sense. If you guys are buying meme coins and you're not making money and you're not fitting this criteria, this should tell you why you're not making money. Because the easiest way to make money, the easiest strategy with meme coin investing is basically just betting on the main memes on new chains. In my experience, is the easiest way. So some examples really are SHIB on Ethereum in 2021, Bonk on Solana, Toshi on Base, Newt on Abstract. Now, what did SHIB get to? It got to like a multi-billion market cap, maybe above 10 billion, I think. Bonk got to a 3 billion, I'm pretty sure. Toshi got to about 1 billion. And so Newt can, if Abstract does well, get to multiple hundreds of millions of market cap. It's all the same thesis. They're the same coin, just on different chains. Now, I did make money on a couple other memes, like Lucy, for example. So just to show you Lucy, it was like a Vatican meme. We bought it just after it had launched. Yep, so it had its first pump, and I bought it here. So we rode it from 20 mil to about 200 mil. It went like 10x. So why is the strategy of betting on the main memes the easiest? Well, you have limited options. When you buy a meme on Solana, after Pump Fun has come out and there's a million memes a day, there's just so many memes to pick from. When you buy memes on a new chain, there's only like 4 to pick from. For example, when Abstract launched, there was like 4 memes. It was Newt, Abster, Yup, and Chengdu. 1 in 4 chance that you pick the correct one. And matter of fact, they all went up. If you bought them on a 60% decline, they all went up and made you money. So limited options makes it so much easier. A long-term focus. So when you buy a random meme on Solana, majority of things launching on Solana don't have a long-term perspective. But if you're buying a meme on a new chain, they're buying it because they're betting on that chain. They're buying it because they know that there's not much money to be made right now because the chain sucks. But in 6 months from now, if they have a long-term focus, they can build as the chain builds, and they can really make money later on. No one is going to build a meme coin on Abstract when they could build one on Solana if they didn't have a long-term focus, because Solana will make the money straight away. Abstract will make the money in 6 months. No one with a short-term focus is going to launch on Abstract. They have a long-term focus. And that's an advantage as well. If you buy a meme coin in Solana and the team rugs, well, you've lost money. That is probably not going to happen on Abstract memes, for example, or base memes when it was really early days as well. Now, direct comms with the chain. So an example of this is that the top memes of a chain get free marketing and free pumping from the actual chain itself. So look at all these pumps that happened for Thank You Base God. All these opportunities to sell and lock in a profit, right? Boom. Now, what was this pump here in November? I'm pretty sure this was the Jesse Pollack shaving his head pump. And this was the pump that I sold into. I sold all of my Thank You Base God at this level. So I bought it at like a 2 mil market cap around here, and then I sold it at a 30 mil market cap. And all these little pumps are created by the chain basically supporting the coin with whatever it may be. So I'm going to give you some examples. Toshi with the Coinbase listing. Thank You Base God. It had a lot of attention because Jesse shaved his head to support Thank You Base God. Newt got announced that it was used for tipping on Abstract. You know, Lucanets follows the coin, or Lucanets buys the coin, or Jesse Pollack buys the coin. Whatever it is, like, you have these things that the chain can do to kickstart the top meme coins and stop them from dying. A pump of last resort, which can help the coin if you pick the right ones. When you think about it, right, how many memes is a chain going to support? They're going to support the few top ones. So all the others don't have that advantage. The few top ones have the advantage because they got in early, they spoke with the team, now the team likes them, now the team is going to work with them to succeed. Let's think about Lucanets, for example, with Abstract. Lucanets wants the meme coins on its chain to succeed because it is going to bring people to the chain. Meme coins are the #1 Trojan horse for attracting users to your blockchain. So what better way to do that than pump the #1 meme on the chain to a crazy valuation, and then that bring all the people to the chain. And Base sort of did this, but they also sort of don't do this, and it's to their detriment. Think about how many of the Base memes Coinbase could have listed, but they decided not to. They were very, very slow, and they only listed Toshi, they listed Degen, which is not even really a meme coin. They barely listed anything, whereas they could have, which would have brought a lot of people to the chain. But Abstract is going to be much more supportive of the meme coins than Base was. And that's sort of an advantage that you have with the betting on the main memes of a new chain sort of narrative. The success is sort of forced into existence because of the relation with the team. And also less dilution. So once the top memes of a new chain get established, they have a moat over their competitors. Solana memes all compete amongst each other with the thousands of new memes that get launched. Thus makes it harder for any meme to establish a floor price / consistent higher prices. Number 7, the most important fundamental for a meme coin. When I think about what is the main thing I look for with a meme to make me want to buy it, it's got to be the narrative. The narrative is the most important part. And all my high-level friends who do meme coins agree with me. The narrative is the main thing you look for. It's the first thing you look for, and it's the most important thing you look for. Because the narrative will tell you whether something is under or overvalued immediately, right? Once you've looked at hundreds of different coins, you know all the different narratives, you've really studied this game, you can spot a good narrative from a bad narrative within seconds because of the pattern recognition that you've developed. And so that's really important if you're in the trenches, because when you are in the trenches, you need to make a split-second decision of if you buy or not. If you have 5 seconds to look at a coin, you better hope you can pick if it's under or overvalued within 5 seconds. You can if you study the narrative. And so that's the trenches sort of reason. Now, from the investing perspective, it's really important because if you're able to forward predict what the narrative is and come up with all the different sort of angles of what the narrative can grow into, you're able to spot what is a good investment from a bad investment and pick the right coins. Let's say on Abstract, for example, there was like a few meme coins you could have bought. Yup was one of the first ones to launch, and a lot of people bought this thinking it was going to be the meme on Abstract. Well, it was clear to me this was a shit meme because look at it, it's just like a stupid green character, like no one cares. Why would this go up? So bad narrative, didn't buy it, didn't do well. Chengdu. This was also a bit of a shit narrative, right? It's sort of a shit character. Now, it's done okay, right? You'd be up 3x if you bought it, but it massively underperformed the main memes, Abster and Newt. Abstract is the future, but you buy the wrong meme, you don't make money. Number 8, whale wallet tracking is overrated. For meme coin investing, you don't really need to study the whale wallets. I don't think it's important. I've never done it, never will, don't think it's important. I think if you're in the trenches, you should use this as a sort of confluence for buying something. But even then, I think if you're someone that uses the tracking of a whale wallet, you're essentially self-admitting that you need to copy other people to make money. And if you need to copy people to make money, you're probably not going to be making money in the top 1% of meme coin investors. You should be able to be self-reliant for decision making, self-reliant for knowing what is good and bad. You need to be the one that people copy. That's the best position to be in. And whale wallets are sort of easily manipulated. Even I do this. People track my wallets, but I fuck with them. Before we accumulated Newt, I accumulated Newt in my public wallet. I then sold it all. A bunch of people sell Newt because they see me sell it all. I just do that to fill my bids. So even if you track whales, they're just going to trick you. They have certain wallets that they trick you on, and there's certain wallets that you don't know about, so you have to keep that in mind as well. Influence in meme coin investing is your greatest edge. Most of you are not a crypto guru, so you don't have influence. Most of you are not good at sales. Most of you don't have a network. So this is obviously not information that you can apply today. However, saying that, if you want to put yourself in a position where you can make millions of dollars from meme coins, the best way to do it is through influence. Now, influence doesn't mean you have 100K YouTube subscribers and you can just pump a meme coin. There's many forms of influence. We'll get into that. But meme coins are essentially a perpetual game of marketing psyops to convince others that your bag is worth buying and it's better than other people's bags and it's worth buying above where you bought. That's all meme coins are. It's just a big marketing psyop. If you can't influence the outcome of what someone buys, you are reliant on the work of other people. Imagine you buy a meme coin and you put 10 grand in and you never talk about it. You never help the meme coin. You don't talk to the team. You don't give them any connections. You don't shill the meme coin online. You do nothing. You just buy and you hold for 6 months. You are completely reliant on others to do the work for you. And that puts you in a position of weakness. When an outcome is completely out of your control, you're in a position of weakness. When you can control the outcome, you're operating from a position of strength, and that is what influence gives you. It gives you a position of strength, a position of putting the odds in your favor. You can force money in your lap. And every good investment I ever did followed a very simple 3-step system without even actually knowing. I would have a contrarian idea. The idea would actually end up being correct, and I would force that narrative into having mindshare. Most of you are capable of having correct contrarian ideas. So you can do 1 and 2. You can think something that others aren't thinking, and then, oh, it's correct. But how do you make 1 and 2 be known by everybody? Because, for example, right, what's a contrarian idea? A contrarian idea is that base is going to be very popular and that Toshi is the #1 meme. Now, being correct about that idea would mean base getting a lot of users and Toshi being the largest market cap meme. And so having the narrative forced into having mindshare increases the market cap and the amount of profit that you make from the contrarian idea, because that's what essentially meme coins are. You say something that no one believes in, it ends up being correct, everyone realizes it's correct, and that you make money from that process of realization. Because if nobody uses base and nobody knows what Toshi is, it doesn't end up happening. There's no mind share, like the whole thing collapses. And investing is all about betting on contrarian ideas. So if you have 1 and 2 and you don't have 3, you can make money, but it's a lot harder to. And that's why I say influence is your greatest edge, because whenever I do something and I make a lot of money, I have all 3. When you guys make money without influence, you only have 2. So you're missing a part of the equation. And meme coins are just a battle of having a moat on mindshare through those who back the coin. Gaining influence gives you the ability to force your coins to win. So what are some different forms of influence? You can have a public following like me. That's the easy one. Another one is having a network where you can recruit KOLs for your own coin. So let's say you buy a coin at a 5 million market cap and you think it has a lot of potential, and you have a friend who has a massive following online. You recruit him to shill your coin. He shills your coin. Now it's at 30 million market cap. Well, you've just used your influence to make a 6x. Another method would be to be elite at sales. So you can use those skills to recruit holders through whatever method. Another method would be having connections to exchanges. Let's say you're on the Coinbase team and you are responsible for Coinbase listings. You buy Toshi, then you list Toshi on Coinbase. Toshi goes 10x, you just 10x your money because of the influence that you have through connections to exchanges or listing coins, right? So there's many different angles of influence, but I've found in my experience of 500 days of meme coin investing that the more I leverage influence. The better returns I get and the more money I make. And influence is a form of leverage that you can use to your advantage. The advice that I've showed you in this video is pretty basic. It's general advice. It's broad on how to invest in memes. And it's not necessarily going to make you money today. So if you want more information on making money from meme coins, the next video that you can watch is this 4-hour course that I created. If you haven't watched it already, I'd recommend it. I show you how to take millions in profit from crypto and how to make life-changing money from meme coins and sort of all the knowledge that I've gotten from crypto combined. So I recommend watching it. I'll see you over there. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next video.